So with angles, there's a few things that you need to know. The types of angles is one major thing. So we've got a few different types here and I've drawn them for you. So acute angle is anywhere between 0 and 90 degrees. So it's a small angle. It goes up to 90 degrees, but then it's not 90 because a right angle is at 90 degrees. And you'll see from the picture here, the right angle actually has a little square in the corner as opposed to an arc, because that denotes that it is at 90 degrees sitting perpendicular. Then we have an obtuse angle, and an obtuse angle is more than 90 degrees, but it's less than 180, because then an angle that is 180 degrees, so that's literally a horizontal or a vertical line, is 180 degrees exactly. And then we've got a reflex angle, and it's called a reflex angle because it goes beyond 180 degrees. And then the last one is a revolution, but a revolution is just the full 360-degree turn. So with naming angles, we generally use capital letters to name angles, and we can name them two different ways. You can use 3 letters, so the 3 points that make the angle, or you can just use the letter that is at the angle. So for example, this first one here, we could call this angle in here angle B, and we write it like this because it's angle, which is the acute angle there, and B. Or we could call it angle ABC or angle CBA. Generally speaking, we do things in alphabetical order, but it's not necessary to do it that way. So in the second example, if I'm trying to figure out this angle here or name that angle that I've marked in green, it has to be angle ADB or angle BDA, because we're looking at that particular angle in here. So we have to label it using the 3 letters, because we can't just say angle D, because angle D is actually that whole angle there. We also have what we call complementary and supplementary angles. So complementary angles, they add up to 90 degrees. So they add to 90, whereas supplementary angles add to 180 degrees. So the knowledge of that means that if we had a question like this one, so this is just an example here, if we know that this is 90 degrees and we're told that this angle in here is 30, but we need to find the value of X. So because we know that it adds up to 90 and that they're complementary, to find X, all we would have to do is 90 take away 30, and we would get 60 degrees. For an example of supplementary, we could have something that looks a bit like this. So we've got a 90-degree angle and a 30-degree angle. Actually, we will make that a 50-degree angle because it's more realistic. So if we've got 180 degrees, that whole straight line is 180 degrees. And we've got a 90-degree angle here where the box is drawn. And then we've got a 50-degree angle here, but we need to find out what that angle X is. So to find X, we would have to do 180, take 90, take 50, and then, of course, that gives you 40 degrees for the angle of X there. Complementary and supplementary angles, they just help us work out angles within 90 degrees and within 180 degrees. The next thing that is to do with angles is looking at angles in parallel lines, and we've got the line bisecting both of those parallel lines there. And we have a few different things. So as you can see from the picture, we've got this angle here that I'm drawing and this angle here. If we have a look at those two angles should be equal, because we're looking at a parallel line there, and this type of angle we call an F angle, okay? It makes an F shape, so it's an F angle, and we call those corresponding, and they're equal. I'll just put in there equal. Then we've got this angle here and this angle here, where if you have a look at those angles, they're both acute angles and they're exactly the same. So we have a Z angle here because it makes a Z shape, and they are called alternate angles, and they are also equal. If you have a look at the angle here, where I'm going to draw a cross for one of them where that green dot is, and I'm going to draw a dot for the other one where the yellow dot is, do you think that the cross and the dot mean the same angle? Now, if you have a look at this angle here, it's rather large. It's an obtuse angle. But then if you have a look at this angle here, we've got an acute angle. But they're across a straight line, which means they actually add to 180. So they are supplementary. So add to 180. They're supplementary, which we just talked about before. And we call those ones co-interior angles, and they make a C shape, which helps because C, co-interior. And you can see they're co-interior because they are internal angles. The last type of angle across parallel lines is this blue angle here that I've drawn, and that forms an X angle. So we have an X angle, it makes an X shape, and we call these ones vertically opposite angles. And do we think they're equal? We have a look, and they would be, because you have a look at this one, that's an obtuse angle, and then you have a look at the opposite, which is also obtuse. Now, if you also have a look at these two where I've drawn crosses, they would be equal as well, but they form an acute angle, but they are equal. So we'll put in an equal sign there. So you've got vertically opposite angles, corresponding angles, and alternate angles, which are all equal. And then you've got co-interior, which is supplementary because they add to 180 degrees. So if we have a look at angles in a triangle, we need to work out how much they add up to. And if let's just take it back a step. And if we look at a square, now we know that a square is always 90 degrees in each of the corners. So it means that a quadrilateral, so a four-sided shape of any kind, will always add up to, let's just make that, they always add to 360 degrees, the angles inside a quadrilateral. They will add to 360 degrees, and if you ever forget that, you can just think straight back to a rectangle or a square where all of the angles are 90 degrees, in which case that's 360. Now, if you are thinking about a triangle here and we chop a quadrilateral in half diagonally, we get a triangle. Now, if we've chopped it in half, what are we doing to the angles? We're chopping two of those in half, which means the angles in a triangle will add to 180 degrees, which is half of the angles in a quadrilateral. So if you ever forget it, you just think back to a square. You know a square has four 90-degree angles to get 360 degrees. And then, of course, we're cutting a triangle from the square or the quadrilateral. So we're cutting it in half. If we're cutting it in half, it means we're going to have 180 degrees in a triangle. Now, we always have, you guys know that we have different types of triangles. So the one I've drawn there would be an equilateral triangle because the three sides are the same length. We've also got an isosceles triangle where two sides and two angles are the same. So I've just marked those there for you. And then we've also got what we call a scalene. Now, a scalene triangle, all three sides are different and all three angles are also different. That's really everything that you need to know about angles. So we've done the types of angles, how to name them, complementary and supplementary angles, angles in parallel lines, and then also angles within a triangle and a quadrilateral.